Hello there, this is a tutorial for the geometry nodes basic nodes. And what this is a collection of very basic geometry nodes groups that you can use to create things really fast. So as you can see here, this is an example of something I made. You can project text on a line. Let's see what kind of nodes we have. So we take the group input and we go to the first few nodes. Here you see we have patterns, and this is like a standardization of a few patterns. So if we go to Hexagon Pattern, we plug it in, and here we see we have hexagons. If we go into wireframe mode, you see that they are filled hexagons. And here we can set the amount in the x-axis and y-axis. You can set the size also, make them really big or really small. You can make also triangles, so it subdivides them in 6 triangles, which can also be handy. Here we have a regular grid with which you can do the same. So here we can scale it up. We can give it more lines, and we can make them into triangles as well. Then what we also have, if I plug this one in, and then with Command C and V we copy it, place it in between. Here you see we have an instant thickness pattern thickener. So if we go into here, you see that you can adjust the thickness of the pattern and also the depth, and that makes it really easy. Also with this one, now they're really small, but if we go to squares and then scale them up a little bit, there you can see that you can extrude a pattern very easily. And it makes it into one mesh also. So if we go to the next one, we have some really basic shapes that you can use. You have like a regular cube with the UVs already. When you go in, you see here that the UV map is already in this node, so you don't have to use it separately. You can use UV_map to call on the UV map. We have a cone, it's the same thing, just super basic. We have a cylinder, an Ico Sphere. And these are pretty basic shapes. Also the UV sphere, of course. But we also have a torus here. And that one isn't in the regular basic shapes of Blender geometry nodes. And also a rounded cube. So as you can see, with a rounded cube we can also set the bevel on it. And it also already has the correct normals. Like the sides are shaded flat and the bevels are shaded smooth. And we can of course change the size. So you can go negative, and it looks a little bit weird, but in this way you can easily create beveled cubes. And also set the amount of subdivisions of the bevel. And you can also turn off the shade smooth. And with the torus it's also the same, that you can give it more geometry and less geometry. You can expand it, and you can also make it thicker. So that's also nice to have within geometry nodes. Here we also have something interesting, which is very handy if you want to change your geometry. So for example, if we take the torus and we put on a transform, for example. So the torus, if we just make it a little bit smaller. Oh, this one of course, one. It's like a big donut. Go into here, put a transform in between, and we translate it to somewhere. And then if we want to have our geometry exactly in the middle, we can use the center geometry. So if we do Command C, Command V, put it in between, it puts it in the middle again. So it doesn't matter where we put it, It always calculates all the geometry and puts it smack in the middle. You can also scale. This scale is because this node was made for importing SVGs. And if you import an SVG, it's usually somewhere way in the distance. And that's why I wanted to center it easily. And also set the scale of the SVG back to its original scale. For some reason, Blender scales SVGs if you import them from Illustrator, and if I scale them back 1.25, the scale is real world correct again. I don't know why this is, but this is what I noticed there. And also when we go into geometry or bounding box, it takes a different midpoint. So if we have, this is like a symmetrical object, but if you have an asymmetrical object, it will take the geometry as a weight midpoint where all the vertices are, or it takes the bounding box. It's the same as you set here, say here set origin, and then volume or geometry. That's the difference. And now if I tick it, you don't see it because it's symmetrical. And what we also have, if we do this, we can take the floor geometry. Sometimes it's handy to floor your geometry. If we look here, no, we also need the center geometry. Then it's centered. Let's move this a little bit down. Take the floor geometry. Now you see that it's in the middle, but if we do floor, it sets it to 0. The bottom of the shape is going to 0. So it's as if it's laying on the floor. And this one also has a scale to it. If you already set the scale, set this one to not 0, but 1. It also has geometry and bounding box. So these two are quite handy if you want to move your geometry. We also have mesh transform nodes. For example, if we go delete this one, we put the group output up here. When I take a grid here, or this one, hexagon. Command C, Command V. Then I give them 5, for example, and 2. For example, this is a shape. It's a pattern. But if we use the outline element, Command C, V, put it in between, you see that it takes away all the middle geometry. And this way it makes a curve also. And you can do things with your curve. So you can thicken them, make them tubes, or put elements on them. So that's the outline element. We have an extrude, which is, as it says, it extrudes. But how it's different from the regular extrude is that it gives it a base. So if I show you the regular extrude, like it, oh, it's the same extrude. I need the extrude from Blender, extrude mesh. Yes, here you see that it's not filled. Untick individual, you see that there's no bottom. And if we do the basic nodes extrude, you see that it has a bottom. So it's a closed space, which can be really handy. Then we have smooth mesh. Let's put back that node. If we up this a little bit and then give it triangles and then subdivide surface, give it a little bit more geometry. We put it in just sharp mode. As you can see here, it has more geometry. Then with the smooth remesh, no, we first use the smooth mesh. Command C, Command V. Here you see that it takes all the geometry and it smooths it out. So if we put the amount higher, you see that it gets smoother and smoother until it collapses on itself. Almost looks like cloth, but this is what the smooth does. Also, when you set the smooth, you have a factor that you can get back to 1 with it. So that's the smooth mesh. We also have a smooth remesh. Command C, Command V. If we, for example, we have this shape and we make a join geometry like this, and we take not a rounded cube, maybe we can take a cylinder. Command C, Command V, in here, and a transform this. Then we move it a little bit here. Also use a transform here, and then scale this one a little bit like this. Put this one here, we scale it up a bit, and maybe we rotate it. So we have some interesting intersection between two objects. And what we can do with smooth remesh, we put it through there, and as you can see, it will make a new mesh and smooth it out for you. So you can see also that because the cylinder doesn't have too much geometry, it becomes a bit jagged. With 2, it becomes more smooth. So here we also have a smooth amount, which is built in. You can just up the amount, it becomes smoother, and we can interpolate between the smoothness. So here you see it does a remesh, and with the smooth we create a nice smooth surface. And this way it's easy to merge objects and make them look good, maybe for printing. If you want to see how it solves the quads, it does it okay. It's not like a remesh add-on, but if you want to do something quickly, like you can do it like this. So that's the smooth remesh. What we also have is a smooth angle. Let's see. Set shade smooth. Radiance. I don't know what this does. Smooth angle. The smooth angle smooths your object by the angle of your faces. So if we go back into here, we take this away, and then maybe just take the cylinder and then put the smooth angle in between. You see that it smooths out the side, and but not the edge. So if we do a set smooth, for example, if I plug this in, it will smooth everything. But if we do the smooth angle, we can set the angle of the smooth. So as you can see here, if I go too high, more than 90, then it switches. If I go lower than a certain amount, you see that these edges come back as well. So this way you can easily fix the shading of your models. So that's these mesh transforms. Then we also have some project element nodes. So if we take this one, the text element on curve. If I take the hexagon pattern, Command C, Command V, and then take the outline element, I'll show you what this looks like. Go to 1. Here you see it already. We give it 3. We have some interesting shape. Then put the text element on curve, and then we say hello world. And then we can set the distance, as you can see here, and it will project onto this curve. I think we get a better result if we also give it a fillet curve, so it bends nicely around the corners. And this is way too high. You do 0.05, and then poly, and then we give it a bit more, and then put this one in between. Here you can see that it projects the words on there nicely. And like here you can say also the rotation. You can randomly rotate all the letters one way or the other. Rotation max, rotation min. You have a scale difference if you want to make something, do something weird with the text. Scale min, scale max, and randomness. So it will change. You can also fill the curve. If we set this to 1, and here letter distance, then you see that you can like project letters on a curve. Then we also have like random instances. If we delete these, here we need a surface. And then Command C, Command V, put it in between. Then we can set the distance, density, the seed, but we also need a shape to project. It's really big. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And then put it to 1. Density. Here you can see that it projects all these elements randomly. And this is just also a combination of a few nodes where you can easily rotate also, and you can scale them, and that's already in the node. It's very easy to make, but it's also handy to have it ready if you want to quickly put some random instances on your object with already the rotation applied and a scale. So sometimes then you can go much quicker. So if we put this density, maybe go to 24, and then make this a lot smaller, and then we can project a lot more. If we take also this size down a little bit. So that's what the random instances does. And then we have also project elements on grid, and that's even more easy if we use the output. If we do again, we delete this, we don't need this one. We take the Ico Sphere, it just makes a grid and fills it. So here you can see we have a grid with a certain size and amount, and it projects already the element onto it. You can also like rotate randomly in the directions that you want. You have a min rotation, max rotation, a seed to change it. You have a minus and max scale, and you have a minus and max translate. So it can move them a little bit. If we do this, you see that they move. They move now in the direction of the rotation. If we put this all to rotation 0, you say that they all move in the X. Here all in the Y, all in the Z. So this way it also becomes easy to make a field or just a quick grid projection. Next up is the Thicken curve. As you can see here we have a hexagon pattern and an outline element. And if we take the Thicken curve, Command C, Command V, put it in between, it will thicken the curve. And if we go here, you see what it does. If we go resample, we can give it more points in the curve. We can also thicken. You have to be careful not to make it too thick, or else it will intersect with itself. So you can, if you give it a little bit less, you can make it a bit thicker also, as you can see here. And then if you want to make it smoother again, you can do a subdivision surface. This way it becomes smooth again. So this way you can really easily thicken your curves and extrude them, maybe if you want to have your outline, a chunky outline. What we also have is a tube. So instead of making a thickened curve flat, you can also make a tube. It's like fairly easy to do this. If you can resample them, also give them more points. If we go in here, you can see, give it more points, less points. And tube resolution, it's like the resolution of the circle that goes around, and the tube radius. You set it like this one, and you can also twist the tube. Set it to 0, then it doesn't twist. Set it to 1, maybe more. Yeah, you have to be careful. Here is where it starts to twist, that it will align a little bit. We go here. Oh, we can give it a lot more, so you can see what will happen. You see that it's twisted a lot. Like, give it less samples, or maybe a lot more. This way you can also unfold it and use the UVs. But this is the easiest way to make a tube. So having done that, these are all the mesh nodes that you can make patterns and like tubes and thicken curves. And we also made materials. So if we go into the rendered mode, go into easy, so everything runs quickly. Always put on these two, like this. Then I have material here, where it's a material index. This is metals, and there are like a few metals that you can use. Like a kind of steel or an aluminum, which is brushed. This is a gold or messing. Darker one. So this way it's also easy to flip through some materials that you want to use. There are 10 here. We have also procedural wood that you can easily use. Oh, this is still the metal ones. You go here, Command C, Command V, woods. Then here you can see it has a wood pattern. It's all procedural, made in Blender. Dark wood, red wood, very light or blue, or even more charcoal, and even weird colors. And there are also 10. This is super light. So that's the woods, and we also have plastics. Let's see, it's like very light colors. There's a slight texture to it. Oh, this is like transparent. Give it some time to load. Any more? You can go in always to see what's there. Oh, this is just 3. We will keep making more, so in future versions you will find more plastics that have been set already. And in the Facbircs we have about 4 also. Let's have a look at how these look. Yeah, this is a leather brown. We have a white and a blue. So these are the fabrics, the leathers. We have also a custom material that you can use within geometry nodes. So if we put that on, here you can see, let's resample this, more resolution. We can set the metallicness of the there's a material that's linked to all these values, and you can easily from geometry nodes change colors and the feel of the material. Make it more plasticky, roughness, maybe subsurface, give it a subsurface color. Maybe give this a little bit weird color. This is a little bit too much. Subsurface. We use shift and slide it a bit. You see that it will blend the colors and it becomes a bit more waxy. Set it to 0, and also transmission to make it see-through. So this way you have a lot of control in geometry nodes already with the material that you can easily change, and also put the parameters into the input socket, so they will appear here if you need so. So with these basic nodes you can do some basic stuff, but it sometimes can really speed up your process. So I really hope this is useful for you.